for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy, Devin, and today I'm excited to welcome Jeremy Bishop to the show. He is the founder of the Influencer Club and a true pioneer in personal branding. He is the guy, right? With over a decade of experience, Jeremy has helped over 200 individuals, including some Netflix stars, some top realtors, artists, and even authors, build world-class brands and really scale their influence. So with Jeremy's expertise on social media, I know he's going to be bringing a lot of different mindset topics for you guys today, and even how to build your personal brand. So Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, Devin, I appreciate it. I'm excited to get into the conversation. Thanks for having me.
No, so let's dive straight in. I appreciate you. So how did you get started in your entrepreneurial journey or into the world of, branding?
Yeah, I was 19 years old. I got introduced to entrepreneurship through network marketing at 19. And it was where I had my first little bit of success. I built this affiliate network of like 5,000 people, had a blast doing it, taught me a lot. It's where I got into personal development. And after a few years of some really great growth and made my first little chunk of change, after a few years, I got a call and it shut down. The company shut down overnight. So I was sitting there and I looked back and I was like, man, if I could have done one thing more, I would have focused on building my name just as much as any company, product, or service or industry that I might represent. And so in my early 20s, that kind of led me down this path, this mission to figure out what this whole personal branding thing was really meant, what it was supposed to do for me, how social media, of course, was going to be incorporated in that. And here we are, 6-7 years later, and excited to kind of get into all that. But yeah, I hope that gives you a good overview.
No, definitely. So let's dive into what personal branding is a little bit, right? Because in today's digital day and age, you hear so many people talk about, and so many influencers talk about, you need to do personal branding, right? Make sure you're not just company branding, brand yourself. What is personal branding and what's the importance of it?
Yeah, I think personal branding is the ability to share with your audience, with people, with the market, something unique and special that's individual. Okay. And something that's unique, and you can connect it to a product. You can connect it to a mission. Okay. You can connect it to basically anything that you'd like to promote. But the personal brand is something that allows people to connect with an individual, and then they can open up a new world and kind of an ecosystem and allow people to get connected to them. So, I mean, of course, that's a really big question. There are a lot of different ways that a personal brand can be incorporated into business. But for everybody out there listening, a personal brand is your ability to get your mission out there and build an ecosystem of different products, services, and impact mission around that.
No, that's awesome. And I think that's one of the things that people get a little confused on is they try to all of a sudden create a logo for themselves and create, and sometimes it's just, putting out your uniqueness. Like one of the people I like to give an example of this is, have you seen the influencer sketch on,
Tell me.
Okay, so he's just, he does one of those Twitch streaming things, but his name is Sketch, and he's, a kid maybe mid-20s, and he's just hilarious. And he's not trying to be funny, and that's just what comes off as like authentic, right? So now his whole personal brand has just became around this character Sketch that he's built out, and that's his personal brand. Right. So people sometimes, I think, they get mixed up that they need to create a business to create a personal brand, and they almost like coincide and they go side by side. Right. Because like I have the Mindset Cafe, you have your own stuff, but then you also have you. Right.
Yeah.
You are the person. Right. So with you working alongside some Netflix stars and some top realtors and authors to build these world-class brands, what is a common thread or a commonality that you've found in creating a standout personal brand across such diverse industries?
Well, there's being seen, the goal to just be seen, and then there's this goal to be sought after, right?
Okay.
And so people, if you want to build a brand that stands out, first off, I think you just touched on it. You've got to work on what you bring to the table that's unique. Okay, it's something that no one else can duplicate, and honestly, it's really overlooked. So when you look at these guys, maybe some of our members that have reached this kind of celebrity status, I promise you, it wasn't a few years ago that they had these really basic questions and challenges about how they should represent themselves, put themselves out there. Okay. So the personal brand is about you becoming confident and comfortable in your own shoes and kind of enjoying that journey of getting your message out there. What do you believe in? What are you here to do? Whether it's do more business, whether you've got kind of your own personality mission statement behind your industry. And that journey is going to lead to the kind of big end result brand down the road. But yeah, it starts with some really, really simple stuff. How do you separate yourself from anything? Stop trying to be like everybody else, right? Stop trying to do what everyone else is doing. So if you see, as an example, in the real estate world, it's really common to see people that have, these kind of curated, highly curated, produced videos of the same exact, market update. Okay. Pictures of the houses that they're selling, just listed. Okay. You could think about that for any industry that's just kind of that basic content that doesn't have any personality at all. Okay. So start with just photos of you, Devan, just photos of who are you on a professional level, a personal level, maybe some hobbies and lifestyle, and try and incorporate a balanced brand so that somebody could kind of get an idea of who you are, okay, and actually connect with you. That's kind of the foundation, the first thing that I would talk to anybody about.
No, I think that's so important. And, you mentioned a few times, be you, or what separates you, right? And so there's this sense of uniqueness, or, not being a sheep and getting lost in the herd kind of thing. And so with that, what would your take on, being authentic, and how, when people are trying to become another top realtor, or so, there has to be that separating factor. So how does authenticity play into the role?
Yeah, I think it's kind of really similar to what we're, that same question, right? Then and answer. You've got to figure out. Let me just give you a different direction, right? If you want to have a really powerful impact and build this really big personal brand, and let's just imagine, what does that mean for somebody? That means they get on your podcast, they get invited onto your podcast, they are sought after, people are actually gravitating towards them, right? So everybody should ask themselves, what's the real end goal that I would like to happen? Okay. So forget about all the little things right now, like how many likes am I getting? How many followers do I have currently? Forget about all that stuff. That's all where you are currently. But if we put a real end goal, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, and we say, you know what, I want to be one of the most popular podcast platforms. I want to have any individual I choose to be able to come on here, be excited. I want people to do business with me at a high level. I want to attract quality, high net worth individuals. I want to be invited to speaking events. Okay. See, I'm giving you guys some big goals to think about. Okay. Because usually it's just like, how do I get a few more followers? How do I get some more likes and some more views? Right. Those goals will never be big enough to create the actual end result that you're going to be proud of. Okay. So how do you create authenticity in the brand? Start by creating some clarity around a real end result that you're actually looking for. And I promise you, some of the other stuff will be a lot easier. What's my brand mission? What should I talk about? What should I post? Who should I network with? All those things will start to come naturally when you have a real end goal in mind and some clarity around that.
No, that's awesome. That's like right on point. So, when you mentioned, like, people are looking for, tracking their followers or tracking their likes, and, can get in that emotional or mental up and down of I'm not getting as many views. What are some key metrics that, you would recommend someone tracking, or kind of monitoring as they're trying to grow their personal brand and create influence?
Yeah, that's great. Two things. One, relationships. Okay. Everybody overlooks this. Everybody's looking at likes and the numbers, views and the numbers. My question to you is, how many new individuals, people, relationships, phone numbers, emails, contacts have you gotten from your social this month? Okay. How many Devons, how many people have you spoken to, actually connected? It could be a 5-minute phone call. You could be a text message. It could be great to meet you. Hey, we might do business in the future. Okay. When you make actual touch and connection with people, guess what that turns into? More comments, more likes, more views, more real engagement. So people ask this really silly question because it's so obvious that what you do, my number two, what you do in real life is directly reflected in your social. Okay. So if you want more, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing in real life? Am I networking? Am I going to events? Am I listening, connecting, watching podcasts, kind of looking for my next, partnership, client, et cetera? If you're moving forward and fast in your business and in your life, it's going to correlate with what you're doing on social. But the metric I would follow in the beginning is, how many people am I actually connecting with, for that to be something that you can utilize in your real business.
No, I think that's awesome. And I honestly, I want to like make a point to that too, because it's now there's so many people reaching out with these, business schemes, and I'm calling it a scheme because it's the most unauthentic thing I've seen. Is all of a sudden you can pay, X amount, monthly, and you get, 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers or whatever the case may be. And yeah, you'll get likes and you'll get, quote unquote shares that look on your account. But when I was speaking to one of these people, right, he said that, the brand doesn't really matter on social media. It's manufactured authority. And I was like, dude,
Interesting.
when he said that, I was like, the conversation was over. Like, I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, this is going to be a manufactured relationship then. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like, I can tell your authenticity. I can tell where you're at with things. You'll put on a front just to get that next follower, just get that next dollar. Right. So how would you say with that, and I like, your whole take on that, how would you say, from transitioning to getting, let's say, followers and doing that whole thing, to really creating and turning that into a community that actively engages, that does give you their phone numbers, their emails, how
Yeah.
would you recommend, someone transition from those two things?
Well, I have a saying in my company, Influencer Club, which is, I don't want to make bad people more popular. Okay. So the first thing that I'm looking at when I'm bringing on a new member that's going to go through this entire journey, the journey is going to go from influencer publications that are going to grow their following, to podcast interviews, speaking events, to business development, relationship development, closing deals, doing more deals through social. This entire process, it starts with, again, a real mission. Okay. Somebody that wants to go make an impact in the world, in their industry, in their market. And when you start with that, that's what's going to kind of make the difference between somebody who's talking about like manufacturing a brand. Okay. The reality is, okay, let's just be very clear. There's more than one way to build a successful brand. And one of those ways in business, in branding, in any industry, is to spend a lot of money and win. Okay, go fast. And I actually agree that slow and steady in this race, you are not going to be a winner. Okay. Now, can you win if you wait 10, 20 years and you're just super consistent and you post every day, and if you just hope for the best? I hope that Devin will maybe find me. Okay. If I waited to reach out to you, Devin, who knows when I would have had a chance to just have a conversation with you and be able to provide this value. But I actually think it's important to go after those opportunities. Okay. So it might not be so much manufactured. You have to have something real to back up the brand. You have to have some real success in real life. You've got to have a real business, a real product, a real mission, a real impact you're trying to make. But I do agree that just like hiring my company, just like working with a team of ours, just like the superstars out there, and people may not know this, but the biggest names you could possibly think of, people like Damon John, Kevin O'Leary, Grant Cardone, Patrick Bet-David, all of these individuals, they have a team of people and they reinvest a lot of money into their brand in order to grow it so that they have higher metrics, a bigger following, they reach more people, and they have a bigger level of credibility at the end of the day. Okay, so don't get it twisted. If you try and put a lot of money behind a shitty mission and a bad person, at the end of the day, you're just going to get really bad results and a lot of people hurt. Nothing special is going to come from that. Okay, if you put a lot of money, a big team of people to create something and push somebody special, okay, over many years, that person's going to become a big impact, a big influence in their industry. So hope that helps.
No, definitely. And I wanna kind of make a clear separation between what I was saying and what you were saying. What I was saying was, that individual was, for listeners, that individual was paying low dollars for followers and, didn't really have a team. What, Jeremy's talking about is completely different, right? What he's talking about is the fact that, just like a business, you can't necessarily do it all on your own. There's too many things to do in a day, and you have to have that mindset of delegate, right? Like this is my social media aspect or my personal brand is a brand. Nike's a brand. Devin essentially is a brand, right? And so now you think of it that way and you bring on a team to help you elevate and scale and grow your brand. So when he's talking about dropping money, it's you're dropping money in ads, you're dropping money in, basically bringing on new staff, those kind of things. And they're not, buying followers. Just want to make that clear because I don't want that to get twisted on what we were both saying. But you did mention Grant Cardone. So I did want to ask, since you've spoken alongside some of those industry giants like Grant, what advice would you give someone looking to elevate their network and really connect with those high level professionals?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I, I would say in each kind of phase, as the market changes, as business changes, people are growing, and every day some big superstar is making a decision to become that next person. Okay, and I'll ask you this: like, have you ever seen somebody just kind of start showing up in your feed? Okay, whether it's on YouTube, on Instagram, and you just start seeing them everywhere. Like they're doing
Yep.
every podcast, they're on every speaking stage. Their business, everything they touch turns to gold. Okay, that's because, like I said, slow and steady is not this race. When someone decides to go big, they put all of the gasoline on the fire. Now, what I would encourage you out there is to be aware of who those people are. When you start to see somebody make that decision to go forward and to push harder and to kind of blow up, that's an opportunity where you might be able to get a foot in the door and start building some relationships with those people, okay, before they become. Now, when we were networking with people like Grant, Elena Cardone, and many others around his network, this was 5, 6, 7 years ago. Okay. At that time, he was answering DMs and inviting, my partners to go in and actually speak with him and do interviews. We were, connecting. We had the personal numbers of, Ryan Secco and all of these individuals. And so, we were at a time where they were exponentially growing their brand. Things were becoming really serious. They started to raise a ton of money, through Instagram, and really pioneered, some of the big, questionable things that people just didn't think were possible. Like, hey, can you go raise, 10, 20, 50, $100 million through social? And now we see this and it becomes normal. So I would say if you're out there, look for the people that are kind of up and coming and find a way to go send them a message, find a way to add value to them, find a way to network with them, see if you can't, get into an event or a speaking event with them. But again, you're going to want to have some credibility for yourself so that they have eyes on you as well. So
No, definitely. That's awesome. I mean, take that away, guys, because I think that is such a different perspective. And I honestly wouldn't even have thought about that. But like I was right when you were saying that, I was thinking about that kid's sketch, and it went from not seeing him on anything to all of a sudden it was like clips of him everywhere. Then he was on every podcast, and it was like I was like, oh, okay, that's exactly what you're talking about. With so many different platforms that are available and stuff, how would you recommend or guide a client through choosing the right platform, or do you choose to use all platforms?
I connect whatever business real end goal you have. Okay. for, your business, or maybe it's your mission, or maybe you have a nonprofit, maybe you have a tech company. I mean, it's completely different. Of course, we work with a lot of our guys are like high level real estate, mortgage, investors, etc. Depending on what you're doing in real life, that's going to help you kind of choose what platform to go really deep on. Okay. So, LinkedIn has its benefits, and Instagram has its benefits. YouTube has its benefits. I don't have to describe all of the differences. I think anybody can, clearly see which one might be best for you and your business. But whatever you decide to do, I mean, Instagram has been just a really well-rounded platform over many, many, many years, where people can connect with you, message you. They can get an idea of who you are and see this kind of array of content from personal to professional. So I think Instagram has definitely been the center of certainly of my world and for all of my members. But of course, YouTube and LinkedIn have been right there beside it. But whatever you do, pick one or two of them and go really freaking deep, and just start to actually work on getting a result from one of them before you worry about being on TikTok, YouTube, uh, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, you're doing all of these different platforms and getting nothing from it. That's really common, right? I think that's a big challenge for people. They end up burning out. They end up hating it. Okay. They're like, social media doesn't work. It's just a ton of time. Okay. But if you were to just pick one, and as an example, an action step, go send 100 messages every day to people you look up to, people you want to connect with, people you might do business with, and just pick one platform and do that every single day until you get some real proof of concept that something's working for you. Okay. And then go even deeper.
No, that's awesome. And going into that, sending 100 messages a day, I want to kind of pivot into a little more about you and some of the mindset and some of the strategies that you've had to cultivate within yourself and develop within yourself to be someone that has sold over $10 million in service, right? What are some of the mindsets and strategies that you've had to use or develop as you scaled your business?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, the foundation is that it's possible. The foundation is that, these big numbers are not so scary, and you can go after them, and you can kind of help yourself understand, the same way that we were talking about getting clarity, with your personal brand and kind of picking a really big goal. Okay. I'd say most people really underestimate what they can do in their business. And so if you want to talk specific numbers, kind of take a look and do kind of an audit of where you are right now. Okay. So whether you're an employee working a job, whether you're a salesperson, whether you have your own business, if you're in between your first like 0 to 10,000 a month in earnings or revenue, there are going to be some different strategies for that person. 10 to 50 a month, 50 to 100 a month, and 100 a month plus, you're going to start to kind of develop multiple streams of marketing and flow. So at that level, you're going to start to use, let's say, either ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, email marketing, etc. But the brand is always at the center. Okay. The brand is something, if it makes sense for your business, that can always be at the center of that ecosystem. And so in the beginning of growing the business, you just kind of figure out where you are, and the 100 messages a day. Yeah. I mean, those techniques are for the individuals that they need to network, and they need to go get new relationships now. They need to bring in potential business now to kind of get this foundation kicked off.
No, that's awesome strategies and stuff. So what role does mindset play in your success? Because I know you talk about the 7-figure mindset. So how does someone cultivate a 7-figure mindset, or cultivate a personal branding mindset?
Yeah. So there's this saying, which is what you pay attention to can grow. Okay. If you're not paying attention to it, if you're not tracking it, if you're not actually looking at the details, it won't grow. And so the 7-figure mindset is the concept of, like I said, these numbers are scary until you just write them down, until you just look at, what is $1 million actually? What is $100,000 a year actually for your business? And so as an example, I have a book where it's broken down every single day and I'm looking at and tracking every single day of relationships I'm connecting with, revenue that's happening, deals that are being done, networks that are opening up. And so when we talk about mindset, there's two parts. There's one which is belief and just pure ambition and motivation and just positive affirmation. Like there are a lot of people that just they don't think they can do it, right? Just bottom line, and that you're not going to even take the first step without having that. And so I would say go listen to some people like Jim Rohn. Go find some people like Bob Proctor. Go get yourself fired up with Tony Robbins. Like go get yourself a foundation of a mindset that is, I can do it. Once you have that, then find a vehicle, find a business, find a vehicle, find an avenue that you can go and go fast and test and freaking push. And those are kind of the two pieces: is pay attention to the numbers and what you can do. You can do a hell of a lot more in 1 week than most people do in a month, just because they don't know. They're not looking at it. And your mindset, you've got to have a foundation. You got to get excited about something.
No, that's awesome. So for you personally, how does your fitness play into it? Do you work out, your personal development? Do you read? Do you listen to podcasts? Like what does your routine look like?
Yeah, all of the above in different kind of times, some more than others. Sometimes it's nice to just sit and actually read physical books. Sometimes it's audiobooks. A lot of the times that's in the gym. The gym absolutely is important. I think that, if you don't feel good, if you don't have clarity, okay, how can you have clarity on some massive end goal if you don't have clarity on Monday morning, right? So, not to go into my entire routine. I'm not like a fitness guru or anything. I have a lot of other friends, by the way, that are the intelligent individuals that I would go in and request info and get and guidance and training. But yeah, working out, lifting, running, basically anything that is sweating out, any toxic thoughts, getting rid of that fogginess that you might have in the morning, and having some clarity on. And I really believe this, man. If you go in and do something tough in the morning, whether it's run or lift or sauna, cold plunge, whatever you want to do, you do something tough in the morning, the rest of the day is going to be a hell of a lot easier. And yeah, you're going to have some clarity. So I definitely think that's important.
No, that's awesome. So I do want to ask a question that's on, I guess, a mindset kind of, but it's one of those things where you, in your line of work, right, you're dealing with, A-type people, right? You're dealing with alphas and you're dealing with these outspoken people, right? What is the struggles? I mean, you don't seem like a soft-spoken person either. So how is that, dealing with those kind of people if they're, kind of getting in their own head and stuff, and you're trying to coach someone else that's an alpha, and it can kind of be rough, because I've, coming from a personal training standpoint, and I've actually coached trainers and coached professional athletes, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where they're not always the easiest clients.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're the hardest workers, and
Yes.
they want you to tell them what to do and where to go, and they want to be challenged in their mindset and what they think is right or wrong. Now, I'm sure you've had, the strongest guy who doesn't believe in himself sometimes. I'm sure you've dealt with somebody who, like I have, a superstar who literally thinks that people are judging them in a bad manner, And so that's always an interesting combo for anybody who's listening who maybe hasn't reached that high level status in their business or in their life yet. I promise you, even the individual that is at, I've got guys that when I met them, they were doing $1 billion a year in real estate production, and they had 900 followers. They had no personal brand. They were, concerned. They had no idea how they were going to go make some of this stuff happen. And I'm sure you've talked to some people that have accomplished everything and still feel like they're at, day one. Okay. So what that does is kind of humanize. Okay. Just like
Yeah.
everybody's on a level playing field. I don't care who you are or what you've done. Okay. And so, yeah, I mean, it's fun. I really like working with people that want to push forward. I think that that's become something that makes my work fun. And if you're out there, you asked a question of how to get connected to some, awesome people in your life. look, those individuals want somebody to come into their life and bring energy, bring something special, bring something new to the table. That's what they're looking for. Okay. It's not just, hey, Devin, how did you become so successful? Give me the answers. I'm sick. I need help. Okay. No one wants to hear that. Instead, for all of the high level relationships I've been fortunate to build, I promise you, it's because when I talk to them like we're at the same level. I talk to them like I've got something special to bring to you. You're going to teach me something and vice versa. And that creates a really strong relationship where they know that they can actually have you in the corner in the ring with them, versus just somebody who's like, oh my gosh, you're so special. All I want to do is ask you, how did you do it? Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, these high level players are very normal. They're going through the same challenges just like anybody else. And in fact, you probably have a lot better insight to keep somebody, at a high level grounded in the beginning of your relationship if you're talking to these like high level people. So
And yeah, and I think it's something that you said is so true though. When you do talk to people that are at this high level, right? Like you're dealing with, like I've dealt with, it's you all of a sudden get a different take on what you saw as a celebrity or saw as this person on a pedestal, and you realize that they're just people. Like
yeah,
I'm not one that gets starstruck anymore. Like, I've seen stars. My cousin was a professional athlete. My other cousins were in rock bands that were in the 90s, so it's like when you start seeing these people and they're just doing the same Thanksgiving dinner as
yeah.
everyone else and all those kind of things, it's like they're just people, right? But a question I do want to ask, because I've had to do this, right, is have you ever had to fire a high level client?
Have I ever had to fire a high
Yeah.
level client? Yeah. I mean, there are, again, individuals that even if they produce at a high level, if they just have a terrible attitude and if they have a terrible self talk, okay, they bring that to the table. And there are just some people that it's like, I can't help you if you can't help yourself at all. Okay. If you can't get over some of these really basic foundation, having a good attitude when you're going through it, understanding that there's going to be ups and downs in the journey, being just simply confident and not blaming everything else and feeling like you're the victim of, whatever's going on in that very moment. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't go through the process, then right, we can't continue. I mean, we just can't continue on that journey, and it usually burns out. The person gets tired and exhausted. I'm not going to deal with that for more than a certain amount of time before it's like, this just isn't going to work. So it's unfortunate. I want people to win no matter what. But hey, if you're training a professional athlete and they just show up and they don't listen to you, they're upset, they don't take your advice, then it's like, hey, there's probably somebody else out there that would be a better fit.
Yeah. And I think an awesome thing you said, and I've told this to clients all over, you know, if you don't believe in yourself, how can other people believe in you? Right. If you, like you said, if you can't help yourself, I can't help you. Right. So it's one of those things where like you're not there to babysit, like you're here to elevate and almost put like that multiplying factor on what their abilities already are and really scale. But if you can't have that self-confidence, that self-belief, and this goes for anything in your life, guys, that if you're listening, if you can't believe in yourself, you can't expect other people to just give you that belief. Right. It all starts with you. Right. So before we wrap up, though, I do want to ask a question, and I don't like to give this question ahead of time because I like it to be organic. Right.
Yeah.
So you have a legacy wall, right? And on Jeremy's legacy wall, you get to leave one message for the up and coming generations, and it could be anything, is short, long, but what is one lesson that you've learned that you would like to instill on the younger?
You know, it brings me back to that childhood, young, 15, 16, 17, 18-year old, 19, 20 years old, that energy and that passion to go after what I wanted to accomplish, what I enjoyed doing. Okay. From 15 years of music and drumming. I was touring in the metal industry to moving into entrepreneurship, into network marketing, which is an industry that everyone hates and tells you will not work. Okay. Met some of the best friends, relationships, moved into social media, met some of the biggest superstars you could ever think of, built relationships with these people. Okay. I'm from a small town in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. All right. I promise you, young generation, if there's one thing, it's raise your energy and find what you're passionate about and go for it. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it.
That's awesome. Well, where can people connect with you, if they're looking to either just get some information or even if they're, building a business or building a personal brand and want to connect with you and your team?
Yeah. Well, hopefully there'll be like some links or something that you could kind
Yeah.
of share below this. So if you're listening, but if you'd like to find me on Instagram and connect personally, my IG is Jeremy Bishop. And if you'd like to look up influencerclubmedia.com, feel free to check that out. And then maybe Devin will kind of have like our VIP page or something else that you can click there. Anywhere you find us, you'll be able to kind of book a free strategy call with our team if you'd like to speak with us and connect. Looking forward to talking to some of you guys soon. So appreciate you having me on here, Devin. Thanks so much.
No, of course. Thank you. And guys, if you're listening, all his links and everything to connect to Jeremy, his social medias will all be in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, all in the description. But make sure you guys share this episode with a friend and don't forget to just be you guys. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. See you guys on the next one.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Cause in the game of life, mindset calls the shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be